Hello, welcome to Kaizen Snow Guide. In this video, we'll be going over everything you need to know about how to wax your snowboard for the first time. Let's get right into it. Let's start with a list of tools. You'll need a microfiber cloth or paper towel to clean your base. You'll also need a brush. For beginners, to keep it simple, all you need is just a nylon brush. Next, we have the wax scraper for scraping off the excess wax after waxing. Make sure it's plastic because metal ones could scratch your base. Now let's talk about wax. There are many different types out there, but for beginners, I recommend all temperature wax because it's just very versatile. It works in any condition, so you don't need to stress about picking the right wax. And finally, you need a waxing iron. I strongly recommend using a dedicated waxing iron rather than using your clothes iron because the waxing iron has a beveled edge that makes it easier to spread the wax. Plus, the base doesn't have steam holes that could cause uneven waxing. It also has a dial that you can use to set the temperature specifically for the wax you're using. That's all for the list of tools. The next step is to find yourself a good workspace. Your work area needs to be well ventilated because you will get wax fumes, so you want to air that out easily. Your workbench also needs to be stable because you'll be applying pressure and you don't want your board to move around while you're doing that. So a pair of snowboard vices are recommended, but you can use anything to prop it up at a comfortable height as long as it's stable. Before waxing, I recommend taking your bindings off because it's much easier to work without them and you reduce the risk of getting base dimples. Next, wipe your base clean with a microfiber cloth or a paper towel. If your board is very greasy, you may want to use a base cleaner, but don't use it if you don't have to because base cleaners can dry out your base. You may also brush the base to remove stubborn dirt and old wax. This opens up the base, which means it can better absorb the new wax. I'm using a nylon brush here, but a soft metal brush is better suited for this part. After your base is clean and dry, heat your iron to the temperature specified by your wax. Different wax require different temperatures, so check the package for the temperature requirement for your wax. For example, my wax here is 120 to 130 degrees. So set the dial to the specified temperature and wait for 5 to 10 minutes for it to heat up. Next, apply wax on your board. There are two ways to do this. First is the drip method. You just need to hold your wax against the iron and let it drip onto your board. Second is the crayon method. Melt the wax for a little bit, then rub it onto the base. I prefer the crayon method because you use less wax, it's less messy, and you can cover the entire surface of the base, whereas the drip method will leave spots without wax. If your wax is smoking, it means your iron is too hot and you need to turn the temperature down. Continue applying wax until the entire base is covered. Next, use your iron to spread the wax evenly. Nothing technical here. You just need to keep the iron moving and don't stay at the same spot for more than 2 seconds, or else you may burn your base. You can do circles or make slow passes from tip to tail. You just want to melt the wax onto the base and spread it evenly. After you melt the wax, do slow passes from tip to tail again to make sure the wax is getting absorbed into the base. Lead with the beveled edge because you want to glide over the wax to melt it instead of pushing the melted wax around. Do this for the entire base surface. Don't move too slow or else you may burn your base. But you shouldn't move too fast either because you want to give it enough time for the wax to melt and get absorbed by the base. You will know you're going at the right speed if you're leaving behind a melt trail of 6 inches or 15 centimeters. After applying the wax, wait until it's cool to the touch. Then you can start scraping. When scraping, you want to tilt the scraper away from you. Apply medium pressure and push. You don't want to tilt it towards you because pushing it this way may cause your scraper to dig into your base and scratch it. So tilt it away from you and push. And careful not to bend your scraper too hard either. If the front of the scraper is pointy, it may dig into your base and also scratch your board. So keep the scraper flat and push. You might be wondering, we just spent all this effort putting the wax on. Why are we scraping it off? Well, the point of waxing is to let wax get absorbed into the pores of your base. Any excess wax that doesn't get absorbed will stay on the surface, and that will slow you down. You will feel like you are riding a candle if you don't scrape it off. So go from tip to tail until you scrape all the wax off. After you're done scraping, feel the base with your fingers to check if you missed a spot. Your base should feel smooth, so if your fingers meet anywhere with some resistance, then you need to scrape that area. Next, scrape the wax off of your edges. Your scraper should have a notch at the corner, and you can use that to scrape your side and base edge. The last thing you need to do is to brush your base, which is also known as polishing. Press hard and go from tip to tail in one direction only. Do this in sections and wipe the wax dust off after each section. Brushing opens up the base structure. Base structure basically means patterns on the base that helps it to wicks off water. So opening up this base structure helps you go faster in wet conditions. Scraping cannot reach into these structures, but brushes can. So that's why you need to brush it after scraping. After making several passes with the nylon brush, you can brush again with horsehair brush to further polish the base. But for beginners, brushing with a nylon brush is good enough. And there you have it. Everything you need to know about waxing your board for the first time. The tools I used will be listed in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.